think we got him done finally. It's going to be all right. Turned out a little different than this little guy, but it's going to be fine. Okay. One down. One down. Those are going to work all right. How's everybody doing this morning? This might be a 2 cup a day. Two cups a day today. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's the forge going on. Getting ready to drill these back plates. My life right now is hat racks mostly. Always live some crazy life. Uh, Not normal, but it's normal, really. So this is the little jig that I use to do the back plates for one style of hat rack that I do. It gives me the opportunity to make sure all of the holes are the same and to make sure that my cuts are all the same. Yeah, that's stepping them up. Very good. Well, they're not pretty, but they're definitely going to work. So, Mr. Cody, you cast and customize steel projects. That's the hard job. Yeah, I'm a blacksmith, so I don't cast anything. I actually forge everything. And I'm always working on some stupid project that's takes me more effort than making a new pair. But I'm going to do something cool with these. They might not end up as tongs, but I might use them as something else. I might use these in an art piece. This was a pair of tongs that I did the other day on a live stream where I made a pair of tongs, one pair of tongs out of a piece of bar. But what I should have done is I should have used a piece of bar stock this wide, and I didn't have a piece. All I had was something that was this wide. So I had to reinforce the reins up a little bit. But that's fine. They're going to work fine. I'm not. I'll leave the art for art, and the tools are tools. So tools don't have to be art. This is kind of Viking style tong, traditional Viking style. Okay, so to catch everybody up, I Blacksmith got an Etsy store, got about 40 products. The last couple of days, I've been working on this huge order of hat racks. These are the hat racks. These are not finished. I just got done welding these. If you're interested in this process, you can go back and watch the lives from yesterday, day before yesterday. Sometimes I'm doing 2 lives a day, but I got a custom order from a guy in Florida who wanted 80 hat racks. So I've been working on hat racks. 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to get a bucket for these. But as you can see, I have not been letting the grass grow under my feet. Let me find a bucket to put. So I don't have 80. I have not counted them up because I know I'm a long ways from 80, but I'm making little progress every day. So I'm going to do a few every day while I'm doing other projects, and then hopefully by the end of the week, I'll have pretty near enough to fill the order, hopefully. So that's what I'm working on right now. and a set of tongs. There's a joint in there with the rivet. This is just beeswax. Paraffin wax would probably work better, but this is what I got. Yeah, I get paid in advance. I don't do anything anymore. After 36 years of doing this, I've learned my lesson. So those are nice now, see? So now I got a set of tongs that I can use for. I can always adjust them to make something else to hold something else if I need. But now I got an extra pair of tongs. Like I said, I'll probably doctor them up and make them into some kind of an art piece. So nothing goes to waste around here. I do some art, but the art don't pay the bills. I actually don't mind doing the production work. As long as I can just, I don't have to do it all at the same time. I can kind of roll it into everything else. Do I make splitting wood mauls? I've never made a maul, but I do make axes. There's one. This one I'm pretty proud of. I'm waiting for that head to dry out so I can slide it down on there a little better. Get it all cheeked up. Here's one my son and I did a while back. Okay. Thanks. We'll go over here and I'll show you this tool. Slide over here so you can kind of see everything. So that is part of it. Not hot now. How's everybody doing? I'm warming up. It's getting warm in here. Thanks for the likes, everybody. I hope I've earned a share or two or a subscription or two this morning. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Try to. There, that's a little better. Fingerprint. Hello. I got 80 of these to do, so I'm trying to do at least 5 or 6 every day. I had a buddy of mine here this last summer who prepped a whole bunch of horseshoes for me. So that is one thing, is I don't have to mess around with cutting on nails out of a whole bunch of horseshoes, because he did, I don't know, he did 3 or 4 big milk crates full of horseshoes for me. So that's a good one. That's a good thing. One less thing I got to do. I need to get an apprentice in the shop is what I need to do. Well, if you're going to move back to Cody, you better do it pretty soon, because everybody's found it. Um, since 2019, Cody, and this is just the numbers that they know about, is up 3,000 people. It is not the same town. One of these days, I'm going to get priced out of the shop, and I don't know where I'm going to go, because my rent has gone up 20% a year for the last 3 years. So, greetings, hello. Yeah, that's you know, I had a shop on Main Street for a while. I had a partner on Main Street in Cody for a while. Cody's funny. Then I was on the back of the truck in front of the pawn store behind the Irma for a while. And then all the real estate agents got butthurt because I was too noisy and smoky. So that went away. There's a couple of good blacksmiths over there, over in Sheridan. I don't want to be in Sheridan. That's even more people over there now. They have so much growth in Sheridan now. It's crazy. I was just in Sheridan a while back here, about a month or two ago, visiting my uncle. He's in the VA hospital over there, and that town is crazy. The growth. Greetings from Russia North. If I move out of Cody, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to go. I have no idea. I used to think I'd go to Southern Colorado or someplace, but I don't want to go there either. They got that all. So many people in there. I don't know. I'm more of a. My folks still have a little ranch north of town here, but the taxes in Park County have doubled in the last 4 years. They've doubled. And so I'm afraid my folks ain't going to have that place very long. They aren't going to be able to afford to keep it. And my dad's 82, so, you know. I hate the thought of living someplace else, but what are you going to do if you can't afford to live in a place? You got to go someplace cheaper to live. I'm only one man. I can only make so much stuff. We're going to cut that off a minute. I'm going to do some of these back rates. That's kind of how this goes. We do a little bit. I move them over there to another station. Just kind of, before I came live this morning, I was cutting back plates. We'll go drill some back plates. Come on, come with me, everybody. It's like freaking, it's like Mr. Rogers around here. Here, come over here and watch this. I don't know what they call this in your country. Wherever you guys are listening from, we call this a drill press. See, that's the tool that I use. Just a simple tooling that way I can nest 5 or 6 together and drill. And drill 5 or 6 at a time that way. These are really the backbone of my business. These hat racks. I think I'm if counting the 80 that I just got an order for, I think I'm damn near 3,000 hat racks in the last 5 or 6 years. And so that's generally what I do here is I will spend a day doing back plates. I'll spend a day doing all the components. So there's 4. I'll go grab the other 4 and then I'll show you how I countersink them. So 2 drill presses. Here's a little baby one. This is an old, I don't know, this is probably from Harbor Freight from back in the 80s, I think. So when you drill these, you get a booger that is not pleasant. This is the production part of this blacksmithing thing that everybody, this is the unromantic part of this deal. And, like any job, there's parts that are fun and parts that aren't fun. The good thing about it is I don't have to stand here and just do this. I can do them until I can't stand to do it anymore, and then I can go do something else. And I can come back to it when I get my brain right. Two more. I can feel I got that one backwards. So I'm just going to go in here and kiss that. And this is why I don't work with gloves. Part of the reason is you got to be able to feel this stuff, because I'm going to put this in a box. I'm going to ship it to somebody, and the person I'm going to ship it to does not have hands that look like this, delicate little woman hands. And so you can't have any sharp, pokey, jagged bits on any of this stuff. You can't be leaving that on any of this stuff. And this is the hard part of me trying to teach other people how to do this. The quality control rests solely on me. And so if I get somebody in here to stand here and drill these, and they get a little lax, and one of those little deals goes past, and somebody picks one out of a box and cuts the end of their finger, that kind of sucks. Same as that. I'm taking those edges off of those so they aren't pointy after I put them in the forge, and you'll see that in a minute. Do I test them? You got a pair of gloves on, you can't do that. When you order something from Wish, you think that the poor Chinese guy who's building your stuff cares if it's got a sliver on it? I've been trying to come up with a faster, more efficient way of doing these, that I could, instead of getting some help in here to manage this, that I could just get a tool. But I've yet to find one. There's a tool called an iron working machine that's electric, but it runs on hydraulics, and it's like a big shear. And so you could stack these in here and shear them instead of me using a bandsaw to cut them, or a hacksaw to cut them, power hacksaw. But I'd still have to feed the machine, pick up the pieces, do all of the work. So maybe one of these days AI will come up with a robot, and I would be the perfect thing for a robot, because I want them all consistently exactly the same. It's about a 4-step process. I think that in a situation like that, for me, a robot would work really great. I could see in the very near future companies like Bobcat or Hitachi or Hilti making a wearable suit that runs on batteries, that runs has a hydraulic unit in it, and then you can just get different attachments for it. You could feed the material in there and go clip, 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 punch, 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 punch. I could totally see that happening. They already have kind of a motorized assisted unit that you put on when you're doing big drills. So I bet 10 years. I bet we're 10 years from that. Oh, you need to clean out this trench? Well, you just get into a robot suit, select your tool, you jump down in the trench. So it's not going to be real artificial intelligence, but you're going to wear a suit, a hydraulic suit. It's that movie Alien, like Alien, where old Sigourney Weaver gets in the suit and she lifts stuff. Yeah, I totally see that being a thing. It might allow somebody like me to work an extra 10 years. Because jobs like this and trades jobs, the efficiency comes from experience. And so in all these trade jobs, when you're hiring and firing guys on these trade jobs, concrete, doing steel buildings, pipe fitting, all of that stuff, you want to keep your old guys around because they have all the experience to get everything done in efficiently. The new guys don't have any experience, so they don't know how to do shit. But the bad part is the old guys, they physically can't do the work. I'm quickly getting there. But if you could put me in a bionic suit, and I could get an extra 10 years. Hello from Ukraine. Hello. Greetings. Greetings. We're doing hat racks. All right, if anybody's got any questions or anything, let me know. Thanks for the likes. I appreciate it. Our little rabbit face has cooled down now, so I can touch him. He's a little more raw than the other one, little rabbit nose. I might have to do him one more time. I might have to get in. I got a little damn porosity. So I might have to get in there and fill up a little porosity one more time, but I wanted to see what the finish was going to look like on him. Like I might get in and we might just work on his face a little more. And then it'll look more like this one. Jackrabbits. Not everybody in the world has jackrabbits. We have a kind of a hare here, or a jackrabbit here in the West, a rabbit, but they're long and lanky. They never get fat, and they have huge ears. So, of course, that's a characterization of a jackrabbit. And now I got to work on his bodies this week. I'm going to do 2 bodies up for him. But first, the real work. We got to do the craft stuff before we can do the art stuff. So that's how we dress up the back plates. I'm in Cody, Wyoming, USA. Cody is the east entrance of Yellowstone National Park. It's pretty near right in the middle of the United States. We're on the east side of the Rocky Mountains. I'm just south of Montana. Yeah, it's pretty here. And everybody's found it. Everybody and their brothers found it now. Thanks for everybody coming in. Appreciate it. Thanks for the likes. I appreciate it. Here, I'll show you some of what I do. Yep. So there's one of my little dog faces I do. Dragon dogs. And then these are on the Etsy store. These are one of the normal. Thank you. These are some of the, these are on the Etsy store. This is some of the stuff I sell. And those are quite a bit of work. And then these are very popular. No, I don't do much in the white. Most everything I do is blacksmith, and I don't do much file work. That's called a penny scroll. That's pretty standard, typical stuff. Lots of leaps, lots of, do a lot of axes and stuff. Here's one of my tomahawks I did. Here's one we did on a live stream about a week ago. The Etsy store, it's the Etsy store. It's if you just Google Cody Iron Works, it comes up, or there's a link in my bio. But this is really the stuff that most of you guys want to see, I think. Yeah, you're very welcome. These are stock removal. This isn't really what I specialize in. These were kind of some custom stuff I did for a guy a while back. This is elk horn. We have a deer here called elk. Yeah. So that's elk horn. It's a lot like stag, only it's not as good a horn. But boy, Joel does nice work on the leather for me. And then this is elk horn too. But Joel kind of went all out on this sheath. But this is more the style of knife I do. Yep, that's it. And this one's all done, except I got to put the final edge on it. The last thing I do before they go out is I put a real good edge on them. But this is a horseshoe and rasp, and it's forged out of one piece of steel. So I split that, forged all that out, and then I actually welded that back. But it's out there on the end of the handle, so it don't matter. But Joel has just kind of gone, my leather guy has just kind of gone hog wild on these sheaths lately. I mean, look at that. I don't even know. I don't know where he found these copper snaps, but man, I like that. Yeah. So that's kind of what I do around here when I'm not standing here doing back plates. Oh, thanks for the likes, everybody. I appreciate it. So I do this kind of stuff because the hat racks is what allows me to do the arty stuff, the knives and the spits and spurs. I'm a blacksmith myself, 5th generation. I finished sacks recently. Tiger Strike Damascus. Ooh, mammoth tusk. Yeah, I'm not doing anything that fancy. I don't specialize in knives, and so my very top end knife is about $400 or $500, and I've got $100 in the sheaths. I have done Damascus, but I do so little of it that I don't mess with it anymore. That's some ladder Damascus there. I need to polish this up again before it goes out of here. And I ordered this from a guy down in Alabama that specializes in making it. But I do. It's not what I like to do. I'm not a stock removal guy. I'm a forged knife guy. So here's a draw knife that I'm working on. And then I sell tons and tons of these. Yeah, I get halfway through a really fancy knife and then I get bored with it. And so I'm better off not doing that. I'm better off doing something that I have more passion in than making really, really fancy knives. So, but I like to make knives and I do tons of them. These are going to be little neck knives made out of horseshoe and rasp. How about some arrowheads? So these are some arrowheads that I forged up. There's a bodkin point. And then, of course, I do tons of hand-forged nails. I don't know why everybody loves the nails so much, but they sure do. So anyway, yeah. I don't ever get bored. I'm always doing something. Thanks for the likes, everybody. So this is called blacksmithing in real life because sometimes I'm doing really sexy, fun stuff, and sometimes I'm just doing the minutia. A lot of times I try to do my minutia stuff in the morning, and then my live streams in the evening sometimes are more exciting, sometimes not. The one I did last night, not so much. And spring thing. Tractor. Well, that's pretty cool. I've got people bringing me steel all the time, but like I said, I don't have time to be messing around with Damascus. It's time consuming and it's easy to screw it up. And where I'm making a living doing it, if I screw up, I've lost money. So you get 4 or 5 hours in a piece of Damascus and then have a bad place where the weld doesn't take. And it ruins your day. Ruins your day. And for me, invariably, I'll do a nice big billet of Damascus, and invariably the declivity will be where I'm laying my edge in. And so I'll end up having a bad spot right where the edge is at. A lot of people don't realize that, I'm here in Cody, Wyoming, which is, we're 50, I think we're between 53 and 5,600 feet here in elevation. And I'm running a Venturi style forge. And so it's really inefficient for me to try to do a ton of forge welding here. Because either I have to add oxygen and fuel to the forge, or I got to use the coal forge. And so I just have never found a way for the Damascus to pay off for me. And I can do it. I can do a forge weld. Able to tell if it's a bad spot as a consumer. No. And I'm going to show you something. Just a second. This is part of the reason I don't mess with Damascus. And if you're buying Damascus from somebody, you want to make damn sure that you buy your Damascus or Damascus knives or whatever from somebody reputable. So, see this little knife? I've had this knife for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. And it is Damascus. But the Damascus is funny because after you carry one for a while, they don't stay Damascus-y. I used to be a cowboy a long time ago. Anyway, let me finish my thought before I get sidetracked. So isn't that a pretty little knife? That's a nice little knife, isn't it? Brass bolsters, bone slabs, Damascus. I bought this knife, just like this, and a sheath at the Winchester Gun Show, I think 3 or 4 years ago, for $20. So this is Indian Damascus. I'm sure this came either from India or Pakistan. There's no stamp on it. There's no stamp anywhere on it. There was no stamp on the crappy. What gave it away was the crappy leather sheath. Because they have a way of making their leather, if you've ever been around Indian leather or Chinese leather or Pakistani leather, it doesn't have the quality of American leather, okay, or Argentine leather. It's totally different. So I took that crappy knife, that $20 knife, and I had Joel build me a $40, back then this was $40 sheet, it's probably a $60 sheet now, to put it in here to show you guys. I use this as a example all the time. This knife will not hold an edge. It will absolutely not hold an edge because the Damascus was made out of crap. It was made out of truck bumpers and leftover rebar or whatever. It's beautiful. The Damascus pattern is really cool in it, but it's junk. But for most people, they don't care. But here's the rub. You can buy just the blanks. You can buy just the blanks. And if I'm buying the whole knife for $20, how much are the blanks? And so I take the blank, I bring it in the shop, I just cut out a knife with it, and I'm putting cherries on a cow pie, and I'm marking it as my own. So I am very suspicious as to who I buy my steel from, and that's part of the reason I don't mess with it. It's because it's too easy for somebody to come back and go, "Oh, that was crap. That was," so I just don't do it. I don't do it. These are the first Damascus. These 3 knives were the first Damascus knives that I've made in probably 6 or 7 years. These 3 right here. And 2 of these billets came from the same guy. But the thing is, like, I haven't polished this one up. I got to polish this one out yet. Put a little muriatic acid on it. There you can see the pattern. So this one came from, like I said, as far as I know, he's a reputable guy that I get these from down in Alabama. He's got very good reviews. I've never talked to him personally. And then this one. But the thing is, if you're actually packing one of these knives and carrying them, pretty soon the oxidation comes up on the blade, and you can't tell if it's you have to really look at it to tell if it's Damascus or not. Thanks, I appreciate it. So some of these knives might be for sale. So here's what happened. I had a guy come to me, a guy that's a member of the Elks Club here in town, and I was a member of the Elks Club for about 10 years, and I didn't join back this year. But he came to me and goes, "Hey, I want something for my brother." And so he goes, "I want a sax, and I want you to make it, and I want it Damascus." And they're vets. He and his brother are both vets. And so I don't do custom work. I really, really don't. But he came to me. He wanted me to build it. And so I built him this. And of course, I got to polish this up and put the edge on it yet. But like I said, I do that the very last minute. So I did this, and then he wanted a custom sheath. And so my buddy Joel, who has done 700 knife sheaths for me, he did this sheath. And so when I ordered the steel for this, I just went ahead and ordered the steel for these 2 too. Because it's not that much more work to do 3 as it is to do 1. Now, will I ever do it again? No, probably not. Because I don't like doing stock removal knives. These are stock removal style. It's not what I specialize in. I can do it, but I don't love it. But this is my game. This is my shtick. This is the knife I like to make. Everything that goes out of my shop that I like gets touched by the forge. I like to do forged knives, and this is a forged knife. I did a little file work on the back because I like to make stuff out of other stuff. This is made out of a horseshoe and rasp. No, you can't see it. That's the whole thing. Is there might not be a bad spot. There might not be a bad spot in this. But here's the thing. Here's what everybody understands. It's such amazing marketing. They call this Damascus steel, but this is not Damascus steel. This is pattern welded steel. It's 2 or 3 different kinds of steel, all smushed together. And what you're doing is you're welding it together, okay? So I have a really hard time with this. Real Damascus steel, real Wootz steel is crucible steel. It is a homogeneous one piece of steel that's formed in a crucible with no oxygen, and it is made in one piece. And the pattern comes up because of the process that's used for that. This is pattern welded steel. Pattern welded steel is you take layers of different kinds of steel, you weld them together, and then you put them in the forge and you weld them together again. And in between, so there's 250 layer. There's 750. There's 1600 layer Damascus. They call it Damascus, but it's pattern welded. Yeah, sure, great, okay. Your family's made it, but I don't know that. I wasn't there to watch. But here's the thing: it's really easy to screw it up. It's really easy to get a bad spot in the weld in that Damascus. It's very easy to mess it up. And here's my proof. Here's my proof that welded steel blades are inferior. Okay? Every weld in every pipeline in this entire country is X-rayed. And they X-ray it because it's really easy to screw that weld up. And the last place that you want a bad weld is in a pipeline, a high pressure pipeline. So I tend to avoid Damascus knives or pattern welded steel knives or whatever you want to call them. It's a great marketing thing and they're beautiful. I absolutely get that. And it's just a knife. So whatever. But if you're actually going to use a blade and you're relying on it for your life, if I have a choice between a Damascus knife and one that's not Damascus, I'm choosing some 5160. That's just me as a 36-year blacksmith. What do I know, right? So that's just my opinion. Yeah, still mix it up at times, right? Yeah, it happens because you're welding. And here's the proof. I weld every day, and I still get porosity in my welds with a brand new tool and perfect conditions. And now you're stacking up. Now you're stacking up layers of steel, and you're smushing them all together. And then you're going to cut it, and you're going to fold it in half, and so now you're going to double the amount. So however many there is there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20. So it goes from 20 to 40. And it goes from 40 to 160 layers. And then from 160, it goes to 320. So I have a hard time. I have a hard time with it. Like I said, it's gorgeous, but hello, everybody. 5160 is what the forged one is made of. So 5160 is what most truck spring is made of. So coil or some 51 series steel or something very close to it. American numbers don't mean the same thing as European numbers. They use a different system to designate their steel types. But here I'll show you. If I want the most durable knife in the whole wide world, this is what I make it out of. These are springs out of a truck. Coil springs out of the front end of a truck. Now, I'm taking a chance though. When I make my knives, I'm taking the chance because I'm using a used piece of steel that has gone 250,000 miles down the road and it's got some wear hardening in it. But you can buy brand new. But a lot of it is about the tempering. A lot of it is about the hardening and the tempering of the steel. This axe is made out of a piece of truck spring. This is made out of a piece of coil spring, a flat spring out of a semi-truck. For tools like this, it is one of my preferred things to use. Number one, I've made a ton of stuff out of it, and so I know how to harden it and heat treat it. And so for me, and it's easy to get for me, and so I make a ton of tools out of it. Okay. These punches, these pitchels, these tools, these are all made out of truck spring, out of that. I don't know if it's 5160 or not. There's no way of me of knowing because it's not stamped on the springs, but it's something like that. This set of calipers, dividers, this is made out of a piece of truck spring. It's what I use in my shop. For my own stuff. Uh, 1095 HCSP, yeah, could be, I don't know. Yeah, more moving parts, more room for error. Yeah, but you know, this is semantics. You're never going to talk people who love Damascus into thinking that a Damascus knife is anything but the very, very best. But that's the same people. A lot of times, that's the same people that think these railroad spike knives are great. But these railroad spike knives are crap. They're crap. They don't have any, and the ones that have HC on them, oh, that's hardened steel. No, it's at the very best, it's medium hardness steel. You can't use a hardened spike in a railroad situation. There's thousands and thousands of train cars going over the top of these spikes. So they're wear hardening, wear hardening, wear hardening. Well, if they have any carbon in them, they wear harden 4 times faster and then they break. So these are junk. These are absolute junk. Now, in the United States, these are not made, these are a continuous piece of steel. It's not bad steel for the steel that it is, but they do not work for knives. It's the same thing as me making knives out of horseshoes. I do tons and tons of these. They're really cool. They work great for letter openers or opening up your oyster shells or for oyster knives or whatever. They work great. But you cannot harden them. They do not harden. They do not have the elements in them that is required to harden a piece of steel. And that's the same thing with this. Hello. Oh, this old thing. Used to be nice. But so you get these knives from India or Pakistan, and they're Damascus. You have no idea what steel they're using inside those. But here's what I can tell you: this is a really nice. It's a really pretty knife. It looks really great. I dropped it, and I cracked the handle out of it. But it's a gorgeous little knife. But it's crap. It will not hold an edge. It refuses to hold an edge. I sharpen this knife. I put it in this sheath. I wear it to the grocery store. I come back. The knife is dull. It will not harden. Now, I have experimented. I've been thinking about taking it apart and seeing if I couldn't temper it back up again and see if it will hold an edge. But I have a sneaking suspicion that whatever this knife blade is made out of, it is not hardenable steel. Because if it was hardenable, they would have hardened it. Or maybe not. I don't know. See, that's the whole thing, is I do not know the process that they use to make this. Because for every process, everything gets more expensive. So if I go to the very most expensive gun show in the whole United States, the Winchester Gun Show in Cody, Wyoming, and I buy this knife with a sheath for $20, how much did they pay for it? $5 with the sheath? It's junk. But so that's why I always say you got to be careful. Now, if you're just buying it because it's cool and it looks good, I actually really like the shape of this knife, and so I actually got it to copy the shape. Yeah. Yeah. So I have a guy here in town that buys about 100 knives from me a year, but he doesn't want real knives. He wants railroad spikes and horseshoes because he wants a $25 or a $30 thing to sell to the tourists. And the tourists know that, and that's great. But I have people every day that will fight me. They will fight me on the quality of these railroad spikes. They will literally get on here and just call me every dirty name. And here's the thing. Most of those people have never touched a railroad spike, much less forged one. When I make these, and I make a lot of them, when I make these, I leave them naturalized because, and I have new ones and I have used ones. And the used ones, because of something in there, sometimes they'll harden because I don't know where the spikes are coming from. I'm just getting random railroad spikes from random railroads all over the place. I have no idea what this is made out of. And so if you try to quench it, sometimes they will actually harden and break. So, okay, sir, you're the Marlboro Cowboy. Sir, we need to put these processes to the test. They break down car wheels, axles, even the engine blocks. They don't clean them properly, move them often, and they keep springs and such for their own tools. I've even seen this being done in person. There you go. There you go. Yeah. So they'll buy a car, they'll strip the car, all the crap. There's a blacksmith who makes something out of the hoods. There's a blacksmith that makes something out of the wheels. There's a blacksmith that makes something out of the axles. And then there's a guy who uses all the good steel, the spring steel, and he makes something out of it. And then anything that's left gets scrapped and gets made into rebar. Yeah, nails or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's probably nails or something. I have no idea. I have no idea. Right. So now you got to understand something. I am 53 years old. I have done two things my whole adult life. I have blacksmithed and shod horses in front of an anvil or under a horse, and I've trained horses. That's the two things I've done. So if there's something I know about, it's this. I know a little bit about this. You know the other kind of steel that you will never see in my blacksmith shop? Rebar. I refuse to use rebar for anything. I do not have one piece of rebar in this blacksmith shop because it's too easy to pick it up and try to forge it into something and make something out of it, and it will fail. Because rebar is the very lowest grade of steel, at least here. Now, I can't speak for Japan or someplace like that, but that's the shit that gets made out of cars and old tin cans and toilet seat covers and whatever. It all gets thrown in a big amalgam and gets extruded out as rebar. And some of it will harden and some of it won't. So there's a very popular, I think he's from Bangladesh or someplace, a very popular YouTuber. And he makes a lot of stuff out of rebar. And it just triggers me. It just triggers me to see this guy making knives and stuff out of rebar. Because it don't work. It don't work. With layered steel, sheet steel at varying thicknesses. Car hoods, aluminum sidings, yeah, whatever. They don't care. They're going to make it out of whatever the cheapest thing they can is. Because like I said, I bought this knife retail at the most expensive place that you could buy a knife for $20. And you can see that that it's pretty. The Damascus is nice. I mean, it's a pretty pattern, but it's junk. But most people don't know that. Yeah, motorcycle chain. Motorcycle chain, it might make fine Damascus. I don't know. I've never used it. I can't imagine. It's got to be a pain in the ass to work with because you got all that grease. And so you have to, in order to get a good weld, you got to degrease all that and get all that carbon out of there before you put it in the forge. So, I mean, what a pain in the arse to do motorcycle chain. I've never done it because what a pain. Yeah, 30 cents with the bone and real brass. These brass bolsters. So that they sold that knife for, I don't know, $5 or something, and they put real brass bolsters on it. Now it's probably crap. It's probably some recycled whatever, but it doesn't matter in a knife situation like that. But that's a sexy little knife. That's why I bought it. I really like the shape. I like the shape enough that I spent 3 times the money to have a sheath built for it. And the reason it's still here is because I've had several people want to buy it from me, and I'm like, nope, this is junk. This is not going to be associated with my name. Not going out. It's not going out. Farrier rasps make fairly good knives. The old rasps make better knives. So somebody tried to tell me that a lot of these Farrier rasps are W1 steel. I don't know, but I liked the way that the old rasps made knives better than the new rasps do. But I make a lot of knives out of Farrier rasp. I make a lot of stuff out of Farrier rasps. I kind of know how to heat treat them and stuff. This little tomahawk head, this is Farrier rasp. I actually did this on a live stream last week. And they make a very usable tool. But again, a lot of this stuff is proprietary, and so a rasp that you get from Save Edge is probably a different steel than a rasp you get from Simpson. They might be totally different steels, and of course the process in which they harden them is totally different. Yeah. Yeah, it's called a tomahawk. So there's one. And so what a lot of people don't know is that high carbon steel is actually easier to forge weld than low carbon steel. Like structural steel is a lot harder to weld than high carbon steel. So this is actually 3 layers in here. So this is wrapped, and to get this beard, I forge welded another piece on there, and you can actually see where the edge of the forge weld is. About the most mass you can get out of one if you're going to do one is this, though. That's a fairly small tomahawk. I think that's probably originally what the original size of them used to be. But I need to order some handles in. Thanks for the likes, everybody. I really, really appreciate it. And then these are just some kind of wonky. This is some leftover horseshoe and rasp that I'm making. I was doing some demonstrations the other day, and so this is some that I'm working on. Thank you. It's just, I've been doing 36 years this year. So I might not be good, but I've done it for long enough that I know what not to do. No rebar. No rebar in the shop. And the reason for that is you get in a hurry, you're building something, you're building a jig, you're building a tool, and it's really easy to reach over there and just that'll work. You reach over there and grab a piece of that rebar, and then you try to weld it in. And you happen to get a piece of that rebar that's hardenable. And then you go to use the tool, and the weld breaks on that hardened piece of rebar, and it goes yeeting across the shop. I don't use it. I have no rebar in this shop, none. It's too dangerous. I'm going to tell you, that's rough. And the reason that doing Damascus with a rasp is hard is because of all these little declivities. So when they make these rasps, what they do is they have a big roller. And as the steel is hot, they roll that rasp through there, and it's got little tiny chisels on it, and it pricks up the teeth of the rasp. So here's one. So you can see it, right? So here's the rasp. So you can see that they roll that through there, and there's a machine that goes in there, and it plucks up the teeth. Okay? So here's how you can tell a rasp that's been forged, or a rasp that has been stock removal. All of mine are stock removal, and you can tell because I've pounded the teeth back into their original place, and it ends up, you get a really distinctive pattern. Okay? Okay, so, but when you try to forge weld these together, you've got all the crap, all of the mill scale, all that crap that you cannot get out of all of those little declivities. And so I personally have never seen a knife forged, and I'm sure there's somebody that's doing it, but it just adds a layer of difficulty. So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's possible, but I've never done it. I mean, I have a heck of a time just welding 3 layers together. So, do you ever do Damascus with rasp? Okay, so I answered that. You need a student. You have golden hands. I've been thinking about getting an apprentice in here. I have been thinking about it. I really need some. I'm at a point with the business that I really could use to have somebody in here. Tomahawks were, in some cases, in tribal traditions, are passed from father to son. The father selects the tree, sinks the hawk into the tree as high as he can reach. When son can reach it, he's grown. Well, yeah, that's kind of cool. I didn't know that, but yeah, I know that the eastern tribes have a lot of they have different than out here in the west, out here in the prairie. So I knew that. Yeah. So, but I've done so my leather guy that does all my sheaths, he makes a pattern for every knife that he does. And he keeps all those patterns in a Rubbermaid tub. And he was over there one day. So this was 13 years, I think, he's been building sheaths for me. He pulled out this tub and he goes, here's part of the patterns. I quit counting at 600. I know he's done over 700 knife sheaths for me. So that's just 700 knives, and that's just the ones with sheaths. That's not counting the stuff that he's done, that I've done, that didn't get sheaths. Because a lot of my knives I don't bother with sheaths. So I've done a lot of knives, a lot. But I like to forge them. We call it forge to finishing. So I like to forge them as close to finish as I can, and I'll show you one. Just a second. I'll show you what I mean. So I try to get the knife as close to the finished product as I can in the forging process. Like I've even got the edge laid into this, pretty much. And the reason you do that is the finish ends up a lot faster. When I go to grind on this and polish this and everything, I don't have to take off as much material, so it doesn't take me as long, and I'm not wasting consumables over at that. Those are $7 or $8 a piece now, those belts. And so what I try to do is, and I'll show you, here's a good example. So here's how one comes out of the forge. Okay, and here's one finished. So it's called forged to finish. So I try to get it as close as I can in the forging, and it saves a ton of time in the finish. And that's how I do it. That's just me. There's a lot of guys that have, everybody's got a way. Yeah. Well, it is, whatever. It is what it is. We all, um, what I'd really like to do is grow the YouTube channel enough that I could just spend about 80% of my time doing really cool projects and filming them for YouTube. And I would still do the hat racks and still do some of that stuff, but because I've got so many things I want to do, and I'm so busy just making a living now that I don't have time to do the really, really cool stuff. Yeah, that was a horseshoe. These are horseshoes. These are the tourists. These are the knives I sell to the tourists in the summertime. So I got one that's actually got a finish on it here. Thought I did. Yeah, this one's finished. So this one's got the finish on it. So no, they're junk. You can't harden a horseshoe. They make really great letter openers. They're good for punching holes in the end of your cigar. I'm sorry to hear that. So these are so forged to finish, right? So and this is how they go out. I just give them a little coat of wax so they don't rust, because they're going to go sit in the Rubber Tomahawk shop downtown, and he's got the air conditioner running 24 hours a day and their swamp cooler running, and so I have to put a coat of wax on them or else they'll rust. And then here's a rasp knife. So this one has been hardened, so you can see the oil on it from quenching it in the oil. So this one is ready to be finished. And I call these a sharp finger or lady finger. Years ago, there used to be, Schrade used to make a little hunting knife called a sharp finger. And this is kind of my take on a sharp finger. And those are rasp. So and I've done tons and tons of these, tons and tons of them. So this one needs to have the oil washed off of it, and then I'll temper it. I'll put it in the oven and temper it back so they aren't quite so brittle. And then I'll put some kind of handles on it. These maybe it'll even get bone handles. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. So there you go, guys. 3 of my big no-nos. Be careful of Damascus. Square up your hammer handles. Don't ever use round hammered handles. Round hammer handles. Always square them up. That'll keep you from getting tendonitis in your arm. Wear your safety glasses. And do not mess around with rebar. Just don't do it. Don't mess around with rebar. The price of good steel to rebar, there isn't hardly any difference. The $1 a 20-foot stick extra that you spend getting some half-inch structural steel round stock is well worth the trouble that you're going to have trying to do anything with rebar. All right, everybody. Any other questions, comments, concerns, ideas? We're rolling up on 2 hours here, and I might come live again. I gotta run out and tumble some stuff. I gotta get everything ready, and I might come back and we might weld up some hat racks later. We'll just see how it goes. Skinner for hunting. Yeah, a reverse curve on a knife, they're hard to sharpen. They're hard to make. I've made a lot of them, but they're hard to sharpen, not just for me, but for other people. A knife with a curve with a curve on the inside, they're hard to sharpen for people. So I do a few of them, but not many. Thanks, I appreciate it. Thanks for the likes, everybody. This has been a good live stream. This has been good. I might get some shorts out of this. So, but if you want to watch some of my other content, I've got 1,100 videos. So I've got a lot of content. So you guys can go back and watch. I've got live streams that you can watch, but I've also got a ton of short videos that you can watch. I've had over 30 videos that have had over 1 million views. So somebody must think there's some relevance in them. Yeah. All right, you guys have a great morning or afternoon or whatever, and I might be back later when I'm welding, and we'll do some welding content. Thanks, everybody. Get hot and hit, and don't forget to wear your safety glasses.